try sitting. So if you come to sitting just in any comfortable sitting position, so you can sit cross-legged or kneeling, you can put a block or something in between your bum and your heels if that's more comfortable. Maybe sit yourself on a blanket so that's comfortable as well. And we'll just spend the first few minutes coming into the body, tuning in with the breath and just settling down. So once you've gathered all your props around you and found your chosen seated position, you can maybe close your eyes or just turn your gaze downwards to the floor, or maybe just let your focus soften. And just resting your hands, palms face up or down or in your lap, whichever's more comfortable. And just settling into the body. And just taking your awareness down to your seat. So becoming aware of the contact between your body and the ground, the earth. And having this sense that the earth is holding you. Settling down into the ground. So eyes closed if it's comfortable, or gaze turned downwards. Just feel that the shoulders are relaxed, moving away from the away from the ears. Have a sense of softness in the face. And then just turning your attention to the breath, observing your body as it moves around the breath. So without changing your breath in any way, noticing how your body moves as you inhale, and noticing how your body moves as you exhale. If you want to bring one hand over your heart, one hand onto the belly, then you can. Or maybe if it's more comfortable, both hands over the heart or both hands onto the belly. Whichever feels kind of more natural to you. And again, observing how the body moves around the breath without changing the breath in any way. And then just turning your attention to the mind. And mentally drawing a line under everything you've been doing earlier on today and anything you'll be doing later on. And just bring yourself into the present, so into your room, onto your mat, and into your body. And you're very welcome to keep your eyes closed throughout the practice. And if you've had your hands on your heart or on your abdomen, just gently letting that go. And then we're going to come into the dragonfly. So if you take your feet out nice and wide, And I suggest, now these are all suggestions, bringing something underneath the bum just to lift the hips up a little. Just to make it easier on the legs to take them out wide. So taking the feet out nice and wide, toes pointing up to the ceiling. Grounding yourself through the sitting bones. Have the sense of lifting out of the hips. So you're sitting up nice and tall, taking your fingertips next to the hips, and you can push your fingertips down into the ground just to kind of push yourself up so there's a sense of length in the spine, through the front body, a length in the side body, so sitting up nice and tall. And if you're struggling to have the legs out, you can bend the knees a little, and you can even bring something underneath the knees. So working out what's best for you, what support you need. Sitting up nice and tall, chin down so the back of the neck is nice and long, shoulders away from the ears. We're just sitting up tall to begin with. So there's length in the spine, length through both legs. And again, just focusing on the breath. You can draw the belly button back towards the spine a little if you like to engage the abdomen to help you sit up nice and tall. And then we're just going to slowly move forward. So just hinging from the hips, you can bring your fingertips now in front of you and just exploring this movement forwards. So you're hinging from the hips, keeping the back fairly straight for now. And as you move forwards, try not to lead with the chin. So you're still keeping the back of the neck long. That length in the spine and length at the front of the body. So pausing here. Let's pause in this slight forward bend. Nice long spine. And then noticing. So observing the sensations in the body. And at this point, just inquiring, do you need more support under the knees? Do you need to just bend one knee a little? Maybe at this point you need to bring your feet closer together. Or maybe you feel like you want to take the feet further apart. So just observing. And then when you're ready on your next exhale, we're going to round the spine, drop the head, coming into a forward bend. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. And we'll stay here for a few minutes. So again, thinking about what kind of props you'd like to take. You can have a bolster in front of you and maybe a block. And rest your forehead onto these props and just relax yourself down. You can also kind of prop your bolster up like this and rest your forehead in that way. So building the floor up to meet you where you are and allowing the props to support you so that you can sustain yourself in this wide-legged forward bend. Good. So we're going to stay here for a couple of minutes. And as you're here, again, having this sense that your props at the ground is rising up to meet you, to support you, and you're not collapsing down towards the ground. You're being supported. So if at any time the posture feels unsustainable, do move out of it and maybe use more props. Consider what your body needs at this time. Good. So 1 more minute. Noticing the breath. If you find yourself inadvertently holding your breath, or if the breath kind of becomes short, then ease away from the edge of the posture. You want to be able to sustain the shape and to sustain your breath. Good, and then when you're ready, on your next inhale, nice and slowly bring yourself back up to sitting. And then you can just lean back on your hands, maybe bend your knees, just pausing here for a moment. And then let's move on to the butterfly. So bringing the soles of your feet together, and you want to have your heels quite far away from your hips, so at least 2 hands widths in between this space in between the hips and the heels. If you've got a block, maybe at least the length of a block. And if you need to take support under the knees, then please do. So I've got a brick and a book. Books are excellent props. So under the knees, and again, let's take the fingertips next to the hips, push down into the fingertips, and just making yourself taller, so you're sitting up nice and tall. So there's length in the front body, length through the spine, shoulders away from the ears. Again, if you want to work with your eyes closed, then you can. And then we're gonna hinge from the hips, moving forward, so keeping the back, the spine nice and long. And you can creep the fingertips forwards. So as you bend forwards, there's still this sense of length through the body. You don't have to come too far forwards. Keeping the back of the neck long, so gaze towards the ground. And let's just pause here for a moment. And considering what props you might need if you need to take further support. Having a sense of generosity towards yourself, so allowing yourself to be supported, physically be supported. Good, and then when you're ready on your next exhale, rounding the spine, you can bend the elbows so they come out wide. Just drop the head, let the shoulders relax. Coming deeper into this forward bend. And again, thinking about how you can sustain this posture. So you can take your bolster over the feet, and maybe rest your hands, your forehead onto the bolster. If you've just got a block like this, you could maybe do the same, so resting the forehead onto the block. Good, so we'll stay here for a few minutes. So in this forward bend, having a sense of surrendering towards the ground and the ground rising up to support you. And as time moves on, considering if you need to alter your position to be able to sustain it for a few more minutes. Do you need to take the feet further away from the body? Or do you want to bring them a little bit closer to intensify the sensations? And then observing the breath. So again, if your breath becomes short or if you notice yourself holding the breath, just ease away from the edge of the posture. You want the breath to flow freely. Good. So we'll be here for 1 more minute. And just reminding yourself that Yin Yoga is not an endurance test, so if you do feel pain in any way, move out of the posture. If you feel pain in the knees, you can always just stretch one of your legs out. So I'm an advocate of protecting the knees. And then when you're ready, on your next inhale, bring yourself back up to sitting. Coming out of the butterfly. Good, you can move your props away and just relax the legs so you can stretch the legs out, lean back on the hands, or you can bend the knees, and if you want you can, what do we call this, windscreen wiper the knees, just to kind of ease up the hips a little. Good. And then come down to lying on the back with your knees bent. And let's take, and have your belt at the ready. So belt just at one side. We won't use it quite yet, but we'll need that. So lying on the back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. And then let's take the right ankle over onto the left knee, keeping the left foot on the floor. Good. And then just draw the right knee away from the body, toes engaged, so the toes, right toes drawing back towards the right knee. So just keeping the left foot on the floor for now, knee away from the body. And just taking a moment, we'll just stay here for maybe 1 minute. Observing the sensations in the legs, and if this feels, intense, if this feels like enough for you today, then you are welcome to stay here for the next few minutes. So still actively drawing that right knee away from the body. And then let's bring the left foot off the floor and both legs in towards the chest. You can take hold of the, so threading the needle, so you can take hold of the back of the left thigh, or if your arms are long enough, you can take hold of your, over the left shin. So you want to keep the back of the head, the shoulders on the ground. And then, and there's always the option of using the belt, so you can take the belt around the shin as well, the left shin, and we'll stay here. Good, and observing the sensations in the body. So using the belt to kind of extend the length of the arms is really useful because it allows you to keep the shoulders and the back of the head on the floor. So you're not straining in the neck at all. You're able to focus on the legs and the hips. And if at any point this becomes uncomfortable, do bring the feet back down to the ground. We'll just be here a moment or two longer. Good, and nice and slowly bring that left foot back down to the ground and the right foot back down. So let's pause in the centre. And then moving on to the other side, so left ankle onto the right knee, drawing the left knee away from the body, keeping the right foot on the floor. Left toes engaged, so left toes drawing towards the left knee. And just staying here, so observing how this feels. And again, if you want to stay with the foot on the floor throughout, then you are more than welcome. And then let's bring both legs in, so right foot off the floor and threading the needle. Again, taking the hands on the back of the right thigh or over the right shin, or using a belt to over the right shin to help you draw the knees in towards you. Good, so staying here. So nice, even breathing. Remember observing the breath, noticing the sensations in the body. So we'll be here for less than a minute more. And if at any point you feel pain in the back, the knee, the hip, then do come out of the posture. Otherwise, thinking about sustaining it, maintaining a steady breath. Good, and then when you're ready, on your next exhale, just lowering both feet down to the ground. And then just pausing for a moment, either with your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor, or just let your legs straighten, just let your feet kind of flop out to the side for a moment, just letting the body soften before we move on to our next posture. Good. So staying on the back, we'll move on to bananasana, one of my favourite postures, mostly because of the name. So now legs straight and toes pointing up to the ceiling and bringing the legs together. So legs are engaged, and then take your hands over onto the floor behind you. If you can, comfortably hold onto each elbow. If you can't, you can just have the hands apart, and if you struggle to take your hands onto the floor behind you, think about, again, building the floor up to meet you, so you can kind of have cushions or blankets so your arms are kind of off the ground a little. And having this sense of length through the body, so you're nice and long and straight. And then we're just going to lean draw the left elbow to the left foot, so leaning over to the left, leaning the top of the body over to the left, so that you're getting this stretch down the right side. And if you lean your left side over to the left, and you feel like you're not quite getting enough of the stretch, then move your feet towards the left as well. So it's like you're trying to move your left elbow towards your left foot, but you're not bending you're not able to kind of bend your knees or anything. Good. And if it's comfortable, looking over to the left. And staying here, we'll be here for a couple of minutes. So again, just observing how the body feels. If you feel like it's not a sustainable posture, ease away from the edge. If having your arms in this position over the head, holding the elbows, isn't sustainable either, you could think about bringing the arms over your body, like onto your chest, or maybe stretching the hands out wide. Good. So as long as you've got this lean, this stretch down the right side of the body, can you sustain your breath in this posture? Remember, trying not to hold the breath, noticing if your breath is smooth or it's kind of ragged in any way. If it's not smooth, then do come away from the edge. Try not to stretch quite as much. And if your breath is smooth and you feel you want to intensify this stretch even more, you can think about bringing the right foot over the left foot. So again, you're increasing the stretch down the right side. Maybe you feel it in the right leg or the right hip, or like in the side of the body, so in the ribs. Observing the sensations. Good. And we'll be here for less than another minute. Allowing yourself to move into a sense of stillness just in these final seconds. And then when you're ready, if your foot's crossed over the other, just gently uncrossing your feet, bringing your feet back to center, sliding the body back to center as well. You can bring your arms down. Let's pause and relax in the center for a moment, so you can just let your feet flop out to the side. Let go of any engagement you had with the arms. Good. Pausing here for a moment. And then let's do the same on the other side. So now bringing the legs back together again, toes up towards the ceiling so the legs are engaged. And then if you can comfortably take your hands, your arms over onto the floor behind you. This time we're going to slide the elbow, the top of the body over to the right. Pausing here before we move the legs, just observing the sensation, so noticing how it feels. And if this is as much of a stretch as you want in this position today, then please do stay here. If you want to increase the stretch, you can move your feet over towards the right as well, so you're stretching out the left side of the body. Bananasana. So the clue is in the name, making yourself look like a banana. Good. So again, as you stay in this posture, considering can you sustain it for maybe 2 more minutes? Can you sustain the posture and comfortably and easily breathe? Can you breathe with ease? So taking a moment to observe how the body feels. If you want to intensify that stretch, you can take your left foot over the right foot. So you're extending this stretch, this length in the left side of the body. And if at any time that becomes unsustainable, you can just bring the feet back just to being next to each other. Equally, if your arm position feels unsustainable at any point, you can stretch the hands out wide so the hands are at shoulder height. Good, so we'll stay here for a moment more. And then when you're ready, just unhooking the feet, bringing your feet back to center, sliding the body so you're back to center as well. And again, just let the legs relax, feet fall out to the side. You can just have the arms next to the body as well. Pausing here. And staying on the back, we're going to raise the legs. So you can do this either with a belt or against a wall. So if you have a wall handy and want to raise your legs against the wall, then do kind of shuffle over to it now. And if you'd rather use a belt, you can bend your knees into your chest and just hook your belt over the feet and just extending the legs into the air. So both legs in the air. And holding onto your belt so that your hands are quite wide and your elbows are quite wide. So that you've still got this sense of space across the upper chest and a sense of space across the back of the shoulders as well. So it's like the top of your back, your top of your arms, your elbows are anchoring you into the ground. And legs in the air, toes pointing towards the face. You can have the knees bent if you need to. So you can really bend the knees as much as you need to. Trying to keep the legs at a 90-degree angle to the body and having the feet slightly apart, maybe the feet together. So whichever works best for you. So I personally have the feet a little distance apart and the knees slightly bent. And we'll stay here for a few minutes, keeping the chin tucked in slightly so the back of the neck is nice and long. Breathing in and out of the nose. And if your legs are up against the wall, you can have the knees bent and your feet flat on the wall, if that works for you. Or you can just have the backs of your heels against the wall. Good, so observing the sensations in the body, particularly in the legs, noticing how they feel. So if your legs become tired at any point, you can bend the knees into the chest just to give them a break. So we'll just stay here for 1 more minute. But if that's not for you, if you've had enough, you can bring the knees into the chest, or maybe just bring the feet down to the ground into a constructive rest pose. So just under a minute we'll be here. Good, and then nice and gently just bending the knees into the chest, letting that belt go. If your legs are against the wall, you can just roll to one side, stay there for a moment before you bring yourself back up to sitting. And if you've just been using the belt, you can just straighten the legs out along the ground, or just bring your feet down to the ground. Good. So So we're going to move on to a lying twist. So what I recommend is having a bolster or cushions on your right side. We'll twist to the right side to begin with. Just having them there, so next to your hip where your knees are going to land. Taking your arms out wide, wherever is comfortable, palms face up or down, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. And then bring your knees in over the chest. And then on your next exhale, just let your knees fall over to the right. So they land on the props, on your bolster or your blocks, or your pillows, and then just looking over to the left. Good, so we'll stay here for a few minutes, so knees over to the right, and if it's comfortable on the neck, looking over to the left. And you can always bring props, a pillow or a blanket in between the knees as well. Or a block, or even a thick book in between the knees to really give you that support. So we'll stay here for a few minutes. So again, thinking about what you need to support the body in order to sustain this posture. And if there's any pain in the lower back, then take the knees further away from, just a bit further down, so they're not as close in towards the chest. So you can lessen the intensity or the deepness of the twist. Good, and closing your eyes if you feel comfortable, just to internalize your experience. So even if you don't have the eyes closed, you can just let your gaze soften, turning your attention inwards. Noticing the breath. Noticing the sensations in the body. Having that sense of support. The earth rising up to support you. Good, so we'll be here for less than a minute more. And then as you come out of the twist, I want you to start the movement from the abdomen. So just pulling the belly button back towards the spine, then bringing the knees back to center, head back to center. And then you can just bring the feet down to the ground. And then moving your props over to the other side, so they're there for you when you need them. And then let's move the hips over to the left, bring the knees into the chest, and move the hips over to the right, the knees over to the left. And looking to the right, if you can. So the knees landing on a cushion, a bolster, maybe taking a blanket in between the knees, or a nice thick book in between the knees. So taking whatever support you need at this moment. Good, and we'll stay here for a few minutes. So considering what props you need to support yourself in order to sustain this posture. And considering the breath, you feel any sensations of pain, or if the breath feels short, then lessen the intensity of this posture, so you can take the knees down slightly so they're not as close in towards the chest. Or you can take more support underneath the knees. Good, so we'll be here for less than another minute. Good, and again, coming out of the posture, as you inhale, draw the belly button back towards the spine and bring the knees back to center, so you're using the core. Good, and then feet onto the ground, pausing here for a moment. And then nice and slowly, bring yourself back up to sitting. So this is, it's about as intense as things are going to get. And let's come into melting heart. So you want to start kneeling, and then just extend your hands in front of you. Really reach the hands out, and then stick your bum up in the air, forehead towards the ground, so you can bring a blanket underneath your forehead. Or if you need more support, you can take a brick, a block, maybe a book underneath the forehead, or a bolster for more comfort. Good. And we'll just stay here for a moment or two, really extending out the arms, the fingers. Melting the heart down towards the ground, and having a sense of like you're opening up under the armpits. So really sticking your bum in the air. So this is a lot easier to do at home, I find, because no one's watching, unlike in the studio. Yeah, and if, like me, your nose gets in the way, really support your forehead. And if your arms get tired, extended out, you can just bend your elbows and bring them in front of your head. Good, so we'll just stay here for another minute. So this is, in Yin Yoga, we call this melting heart. Good, so we're coming towards the end of this posture, and when you're ready, without disturbing yourself too much, bringing yourself into your final relaxation posture. So you can lie on the back with your legs outstretched. You can lie on the back with your knees bent, feet flat on the floor. If you feel like your lower back's a bit sensitive, you can knock your knees together so you're making like a tent shape. Or you can lie on the front or on your side. So however you're lying, take your warm clothes, your blankets, your support, bolsters under your knees. If you're lying on your front, it can be quite soothing to have like a blanket under or a cushion under the hips. If you're lying on your side, you can take a bolster or a cushion in between your knees. Good. And if it's comfortable, just lightly closing the eyes. Making sure you're warm. And once you've settled down, just letting go of the idea of making too much movement just for the next few minutes, allowing the body to be still and to relax. This is time for you. And again, becoming aware of the body in contact with the ground, in contact with the earth, having this sense that your body is perfectly supported by the ground, and allowing the body to relax. Allowing your breath to flow easily in and out. And just allowing the body to relax. If your mind starts to wander away, bringing your attention back to the sensation of air passing in and out of the nostrils, or just focusing your attention on the point in between your eyebrows. if you are comfortable where you are and you have the time and space to stay in this state of relaxation, please feel free to stay where you are. If you need to move on with your day and come out of relaxation, then slowly start to bring a few deeper breaths into the body. Maybe stretching out your fingers, your toes, rolling your head from side to side. If you've been lying on your back, you can bend your knees, roll over to one side, pausing there for a moment. And then when you're ready, just nice and slowly bring yourself up to sitting. If you're wearing glasses, just popping them off for a moment. And we'll finish by practicing palming together. So rub the palms of your hands together until they feel really nice and warm. So as it's deep winter, this might take a while. And when you feel like there's some warmth in your hands, just placing them over your eyes. Let the warmth and the energy bathe your eyes for a moment. Opening your eyes into the dark space. Slowly moving your hands away. And then just bring your hands together in front of your chest. Thank you.